Welcome to the Fierce and Fit Mentor Podcast. I'm your host, Clarice Yao, a holistic health coach dedicated to helping women over 40 achieve their fittest, fiercest selves. Each week, we'll dive deep into the unique challenges of menopause, including belly fat, weight gain, muscle building, hormonal imbalances, and more. These episodes are recorded live from my free Facebook group, Fierce Women Sculpting Powerful Bodies and Champion Mindsets. Be sure to check the link in the show notes to join our incredible community and access free content, challenges, and resources designed just for you. So this is live number, I think it's 216. I could be wrong, but we've had so many lives. And this is the live mindset reset every woman 40 plus needs for lasting change. Now, if you know Clarice really well, you'll know that I love mindset. It's like one of my favorite topics outside of like hormones and other geeky stuff. But mindset is number one for me because I really believe that if you can conquer your mind, you can conquer the world because everything starts here. And my mentor once said, everything happens twice. First in your mind and then in reality. So it's very important that everything, and I obviously invite a lot of my own clients to come today because even them themselves need mindset work. Everyone does, right? So as I mentioned in my teaser yesterday, we're going to explore a few areas. So including how fear, frustration, and self-sabotage quietly shapes your progress. And as I'm speaking this, I actually want you guys to put in the comment section, what do you struggle with? Like fear, frustration, self-sabotage. Put some of the mindset things that you struggle with in the comment section, okay? So then another one is why you keep circling back to the same types of patterns. And I know a lot of my own clients struggle with this. So I can imagine in a 19,000 community, a lot of people circle the same mindset problems. And as well, we're going to talk about what real empowering self-talk sounds like, how you need to speak to yourself, and how to shift from survival mode to self-trust and momentum. Okay, so this is the Fierce Women's community where we sculpt powerful bodies and champion mindsets. This community is still alive. However, as you may know already, that Clarice and Oshone are not in Facebook right now. So we are posting everything from Instagram. So make sure you follow me on Instagram. We are also building another platform out, so you guys can just wait for that. That's going to be coming in the future. However, right now, the best way to stay connected is on Instagram. And if you have not seen the 10 things you don't know about your coach, Clarice. So if you want to be tagged on that post, 10 things you don't know about your coach, Clarice, put Coach Clarice below and Oshone will tag you. Okay, let's dive into it. So what is kind of like one of my main focuses on this live in kind of an overarching view is I want to help, women recognize that body transformation is not just about knowledge, nor is it about just effort. Okay, so two things. One, it's not just about knowledge because a lot of you come to my lives and I enjoy doing it and it is a great stepping stone. However, a lot of people just gather knowledge, and they take in a lot of knowledge and they think this knowledge is going to change them. That is one of the biggest fallacies, okay? And we're going to talk about this more. Secondly, sometimes women have also a false kind of thought process around effort. If I work harder, it's going to change, only to hit a wall, realizing it isn't always about just working harder. Of course, you need to work hard, but as my mentor always said, it's not about hard work, it's about smart work, right? It's about what is actually effective, what actually produces change in your body. Now, because today's live is focused on mindset, of course, I'm going to dial, the point towards your inner narrative and there's other things, of course, you have to apply. But today I want to talk about it's not just knowledge or effort. A lot of it comes down to your inner narrative towards what you say to yourself in here changes everything. So we're going to go through 6 mindset things, okay? And we'll break down each one. So the first thing is mindset, or having a healthy mindset is not the same as having motivation. Okay.
Mindset and motivation are not the same. A lot of people they tell me, and even some of my current clients tell me, I need motivation. I need motivation. And this is the thing I want to keep in mind is that mindset shift isn't about being positive all the time. Mindset shift is about how, like, knowing how to respond when things get uncertain, hard, or progress is slow. It's about the way you think. Okay. So to further add to that, motivation is very temporary and it is based on temporary emotions. Those of you who have lived long enough, you have a lot of experience around that. If you make a lot of decisions based on emotions, you're in for some pretty scary things potentially. Okay. And so most women think they need to be motivated, but what you really need is you need to change the mindset, which is the internal operating system of your brain. What do I mean by that? Changing the internal operating system of your brain is changing the way you make decisions regardless of how you feel. Okay, that's a mic drop right there. Write that down. It is a mindset shift is making decisions, learning how to make decisions regardless of how you feel. So meaning it's instead of just being motivated, not being motivated, you switch to, okay, what kinds of decisions can I actually make for myself right now? Right. So let's go into some examples. Motivation often with emotions will say, oh, I feel inspired today. I'll go for a walk, or I feel so inspired because of this challenge. I'm going to work really hard. It's kind of like that feeling, right? And then on the opposite way, you could say, I feel tired today. Oh, I just have to skip my workout. Oh, I feel exhausted. I can't meal prep today. Okay. So how many of you have said things like that? Oh, I feel so inspired, or I feel tired, or and have those emotional kind of moments. Now it's not to, like, I want you to understand, and I always say this, Clarice is sometimes strong, but strong with love. I mean, whatever I say, it never is coming from a place to shame. What I want you to understand is I want you to be honest. So, for example, if you admit, I do say that sometimes, I'm a little emotional when I say that, that's great. Acknowledge that, because that's the only way to change. Because, and I'll talk about shame later. Shame is a very self-defeating attitude. It's like, oh, I feel bad. Like, she called me out on this. Like, I'm thinking like that. That's a very, like, low value perspective, when you can have a growth perspective. Oh, like, she's calling me out so she can help me grow. She's helping me see something. And again, everything comes back to how you think. Okay. So if you feel like, in the chat box, put, like, do you make emotional decisions? Do you go like, oh, I'm tired, or I just feel like I'll just do it tomorrow? Do you sometimes make those emotional decisions? Put it in the chat box. Okay. Now, instead of the motivation, your mindset shift, or let's say, I call it more the ownership shift. Like, and I just had a talk with my muscle accelerator clients around ownership mindset. But it's saying, instead of the emotional language of, oh, I'm tired, I'll skip my workout type of language, you say, whether I feel like it or not, I choose to show up for my goals because this is who I am becoming. So it becomes a decision you make versus an emotional reaction, right? Every time you act or don't act, you're living out of a belief, whether you're conscious of it not or not, meaning whether you act on it or you don't act on it, you are subconsciously reinforcing a type of belief in your mind. So if you say, oh, I always fall off track, when I travel, or I always fall off track. There's a few of you on here I know has said that to me in the messenger. So you say, I always fall off track, and that's your mindset. So you will fall off track, And if you say, I can't stay consistent without someone holding me accountable, so that mindset can then be a little bit like, I'm waiting for someone to push me, which I am having a conversation with one of my clients regarding this, is like, is this I need someone, I have to have someone there, I have to have someone there. And you have to recognize that is a mindset belief. Okay. And these things will stall you if you don't kind of be aware of it, right? And also, there's another one. It's like, I'm not like those women who just enjoy working out. I have heard that. I'm just not one of those women who likes working out. I'm just not that athletic type. I don't really like training, you know? And again, it's not to put aside, like, you can have certain opinions about things, but you have to recognize that if those beliefs becomes your internal dialogue and your internal belief about yourself, you will always self-sabotage. You will always go to the lowest version of yourself. As my mentor once said, you will always naturally decay to the lowest version of yourself. Why? Because this is the natural law of life. Our bodies age. You put a piece of bread or apple out, it will rot. And if you don't intentionally work on your mindset, which is always an uphill battle, as John Maxwell says, if you don't know John Maxwell, you should follow him. He's an amazing leadership guru. John Maxwell says every success in life is an uphill battle. This includes your mind. This includes that whatever you're doing in your life, whether it's mindset for finances, whether it's mindset for your relationship, whether it's mindset for your business, for your health, for whatever else in your life, is an uphill battle, right? And this is just recognizing you can't just go, I'll just sit here and naturally I'm going to become better, right? That's kind of, here's some giggles, but that's how sometimes people are like thinking they kind of just exist and they don't work hard to create the change, because what does that mean? Working hard to create the change is uncomfortable. It's hard. It can be frustrating sometimes. If you're still just joining us and haven't put it below, what self-sabotaging thoughts do you have that derails you? And I gave you some examples because I want you to be honest. What self-sabotaging thoughts do you go through? Put it in the chat box. Now I'm going to give you a few mindset traps. You know, as I speak about it, you can still type more in there, but these are common ones, okay? We're still on point number one though, like around the whole mindset shift. So let's dive into one of the common mindset traps here is I should be able to do this alone. Now, this is a common one I hear a lot. I hear it from a lot of women that's like, I can do it. Like I can figure it out. I got it. I'll figure it out. I'll just do more research. I'll learn, which I'm not discounting. Always you should be learning, and always the action is on you to go and learn more. I'm not discounting that. However, why I like to pull out this point is actually a statement often like this, especially if someone is not changing. I always say this, like whatever I'm speaking of, think of it this way. If you are having amazing results, amazing changes in your life, you keep going, doing what you're doing, because obviously it's working. Results always speak the loudest. If you are doing and spinning circles, going forward 2 steps, going back 5 steps, feeling like you're always falling off, plateauing, gaining weight, not able to lose weight. And this is one of the reasons actually Phyllis came back to me, because she gained about 10 pounds, right, Phyllis? And she was honest with herself, like, hey, okay, I need some help here, right? So this is what I mean is like this statement, I should be able to do it alone, is for people who are like stuck, but yet they still don't reach out for help. This belief is rooted in hyper independence, perfectionism, and fear of being a burden. This type of mindset often appears in people or women who overfunction for others. They are always trying to do something for other people. Somebody mentioned that earlier. They're doing a lot of things for other people, and they feel like maybe asking for support is weakness, or like I don't want to burden someone else. I know I've heard Debbie say that to me before, even within our own private calls, after I've coached for this many years. The reframe for this is that you need to change that mindset to that asking for support is not weakness. Asking for support is strength. In fact, when you are able to admit vulnerability, like, hey, I don't know something, I need help, that is a greater sign of strength than someone who hides or dodges or pushes past all of that and pretends they're okay. Asking for support is not weakness, it is strength. And success is rarely solo, especially for women over 40 Women over 40 thrive on structure, feedback, and aligned community. So women over 40 cannot just go by the seat of their pants. I know some of you may have thought you could, and then you realize as you hit into menopause, like Joanne, oh my gosh, my body's changing. I can't just fly by the seat of my pants. Like I need structure, I need guidance on what to do. So this is really crucial for you to understand that women over 40 thrive with structure, feedback, and aligned community. Okay. So think about this right now, okay, and put it in the comments. Who could support you right now, even just 10% more? Who can actually support you more in your journey? And this is for everybody. Obviously, the ones who are working with me, I mean, I know I'm here guiding you guys, but this is for everybody watching or watching the replays. Who could support you more right now, even just 10%? So put below, because this first false mindset is important to recognize. Do you fall into this I should be able to do this alone kind of mindset? So put that below if you feel that is you. And then the next mindset is I'll start when life calms down. Okay. So this is another big mindset trap for a lot of women is the delay illusion. I call it the delay illusion, the perfect timing illusion. It's this mythical perfect timing that never comes. It's often in disguise. Joanna's shaking her head. There is never a perfect time. I mean, there's always going to be something going on, whether with the government, your job, your health, somebody in your family, like there's always something happening. And the real training ground is now, not later. Now, without sounding like black and white, of course, I recognize there are some situations that legitimately is valid. But I'm talking about for a lot of women, they utilize this, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. And they never really take action on this. And women, they transform not by removing stress. Like they don't, it's not just about like removing stress, but it's like learning how to navigate their goals within stress. Okay, so listen to that carefully. Women don't just transform by like taking away all stress. Yes, cortisol control is really important. I mean, I talk about this all the time. Joanne, we just met and I talked about cortisol control. But the truth is, there's stress in life. There's stress in your body. There's stress in other things in maybe Pia, your life, or Jane, your life. Like Cynthia, I know you have a very busy job. Can you absolutely avoid all stress in your life? No. The ones who really do well in life and mindset are the ones who are able to navigate their goals despite stress and within stress. Like they know how to figure out the rhythm, the mindset shifts they need to operate within the stress. Okay. And I just taught this to the Muscle Accelerator clients about like reframing and ownership mindset, like being willing to own your decisions. I'm going to get to this later, but like an example I was just thinking is like, I mean, a lot of you already know the situation is like we were shut off of Facebook. So my entire business runs on Facebook. But the thing is, it's not to be like that's the stress, but it's like, okay, this happened. Now, what can we do to move forward from here? How can I navigate within this stress to move forward? And that's the mindset I want a lot of the women listening is like, you're going to always have stress, but how do you move forward? So something I often say is small imperfect action beats paused perfection. Okay. Small imperfect action beats paused perfection. So your small imperfect actions is better than the paused perfection, which a lot of women will pause and they don't move forward. Okay. And I often say 30% of a workout is better than 0% workout, right? So do something, move, do some action. So for everyone who's listening, who here is a bit of a procrastinator? If you are a procrastinator, put it below, put it into the comments. Are you a procrastinator? Do you try to delay? Do you say, oh, I'll be better? I'm just really busy. Next week will be better. And this is common, like I said, is not to shame anyone. It's just want you to be honest. Anybody put it in the comments, struggle with procrastination. And so all of you who are on here, what's one micro action you can take this week for your health, even if life is full? I want everyone who is on here to put something in the comments, because I want you all to think, what is one micro action you can take this week, even if your life is full, that will move you forward? So that's another mindset trap. Perfect. So the third one is another one. It says, I can't trust myself to follow through. Now, this one I hear, I maybe not as frequently as the other two, but I do hear it. It's like you don't really trust yourself fully. And this could be reflected in that comment I said, like, I always need my coach there. I need her there all the time. This is like a learned helplessness. Okay. This typically, and listen carefully, if this is you, it could be you, comes from people who have yo-yo dieted many years, and they've done a lot of quick fixes, quick kinds of things, and they've fallen off, like on and off many, many, many times. So they don't really trust themselves. And this, of course, understandable. It's like a learned helplessness that you feel like has been reinforced to you, and like, I can't do it. And there's either a fear of failure or a fear of success. Both are exactly the same. Fear of failure and fear of success, fear almost exactly the same. They look a little different, but your fear of failure is, I'm afraid I'm going to fail. But fear of success is exactly the same. I'm afraid that I'm going to succeed, and then I cannot stay there. I'm going to get all the way and I still may not have success. And I'm afraid I put everything in and I still cannot be successful. It's also a fear of failure. And if you ever read Oh, that's a book. Oshona, you might know. It's like the 8 mindset shifts. Can't come to it's a book, blue book, but it talks about the fear of success and fear of failure. And this is very common. A lot of people, as they go along a program or they start a program, they they said everything they want to do is they want to move forward, but then they don't do the action. They don't follow through. And when you actually dive deeper into it, is that they're really scared that if they go forward and they move forward, they're going to disappoint themselves. They're going to fail. And so it is still a fear of failure. And so this is something I want to help all of you reframe. Before I dive into that reframe, does anybody have a fear of success or fear of failure? Anybody here? Anybody kind of struggle with that, like fear of success or fear of failure? Put it below. So consistency is built over time. It's not inherited. Okay. So following through is not about being perfect. It's about building self-trust to yourself. So you're building it within yourself through evidence-based momentum. So what I mean by that is your self-trust comes from actions. It comes from consistently applying yourself. So a really good example is Ruby. Okay, Ruby is learning about macros. She's learning how to combine. She's learning all the things I'm teaching her about macronutrients. At the beginning, she was confused. She actually asked me a lot of questions about, well, what about this and this? I don't understand. So it was like, I can't have this with this. And she was so confused, right? And she was actually very, very frustrated. And she was willing to share that with me. And I gave her obviously some suggestions and a tutorial where I taught her more about it. So then she's like, okay, I'm going to go and work on this. And because she still consistently applied herself, even though she felt like low energy, felt like, oh, I don't have it, it's frustrating trying to combine these things, she still did it. And now 2.5 weeks later, she's like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. She pushed through. And that's what I mean by evidence-based momentum. When you follow through, regardless of how you feel, you take the action, you keep going day after day after day, you build self-trust. It is about stacking those wins. Okay. So when you are willing to stack those wins, keep going, keep stacking, and sometimes it's not blindly doing it. Like when you have a coach with you, that's when you are like, okay, she's gotten like so many women to the other side. I'm going to follow that. That's actually really like smart, because you're like, there's a proven path and she's bringing me along. Now, if you consistently apply momentum, but you have nobody guiding you, what I'm going to say is you do need to stand back and look, okay? If after 6 months to a year, there's no results, you do need to slow down and go, okay, am I even heading in the right direction? Okay. But evidence-based momentum is based on you doing the right actions that you know is going to lead to results. Okay. So remember this, I always say this, self-worth is inherent, like as in like everybody's valuable. Nobody is different from anybody. Okay. But self-confidence is earned. Okay. I always say this, self-confidence is earned. Some of you on here, we all have varying levels of self-confidence. And it's okay, it's your own journey. We embrace your journey. But you have to understand the people who have earned greater self-confidence are people who have chosen to follow through more in their life. Okay. So for yourself, you have to ask yourself, did I follow through on something? Did I continue to apply myself towards a program or in something that is, yeah, like a challenge, a program, or something like that? Okay. So one thing I want to bring up is kind of like sometimes the danger of getting older. Okay. Now, this is why I really value Phyllis. She is like, I always tell Shone and or our whole team, right? We're like, we love Phyllis because she is one of the oldest at 75, most seasoned, I guess. And yet she's so humble and she wants to always learn and grow. But one of the dangers of getting older is a lot of people feel like, one, they should already know. I'm old enough. I should already know this stuff. And you settle into comfort and convenience. When you think about young kids, this is why I love children. You guys know I was a school teacher. I love kids because they reflect the most genuine parts of our soul, of who we are. Young kids love learning. They're genuine. They always ask. I was the kid who asked why a million times to my parents. And they would be like, oh my gosh, that like those long car rides were not fun for them. But I always wanted to learn because as a young kid, what do we want to do as young kids? We're always like, why is the sky blue? Why is this, like we're just super curious. And when you're young, we're always in a state of discomfort. I remember, going to school, first day of school, then it was junior high, then it was like trying to learn this other skill set. Everything is new as you're growing up. And it's really good because that's when the greatest growth happens is for children and teenagers and all of that. But as women age into their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, they settle into a routine, they settle into what they already know, they settle into comfort zones, and they're like, I don't like change. Like, this is just what I like to do. This is what I like to do. And this is why I like to challenge a lot of the women I coach who are 40, 50, 60, 70 years old to kind of go back to having like a childlike spirit. That's actually also something my mentor always said. If you can have a childlike spirit in your learning and growth, you will grow so much in your life. And little kids go through things like martial arts programs, dance programs, football, all the things we enroll them in. And they have this chance to like have structure and systems and tracking and a coach with them. They have the perfect environment to succeed and become better. When women get older, they often go off on their own, and then they often again this whole like I'll do it on my own, like I don't really need a coach, like why do I need to be in a program? Or maybe they do think they want to be in a program, but they forget, okay, this is very common, that you must continue in structured programs. It's not that you do one and then you don't do it and you leave completely. This is the problem. Sometimes people do 8 weeks of something, 12 weeks of something, and they don't actually continue applying that learning or growth. A few ladies on here was previously in some of my previous programs, and I know we've talked on Messenger and they've fallen back. Why? Let's just be honest, okay? Like honesty is always the key because the truth is everybody actually needs structure. No one is too good to not need structure. You're not that good, but you're not that bad either. Everyone needs support, and structure. At the end of the day, this is the truth. The ones who try to do it solo on themselves, or they try to figure it out on their own, they end up yo-yoing. This is the unfortunate thing. They end up yo-yoing. My life mentor has been with me for now 13 years. And do I need her all the time? No. But she's been with me for 13 years. I had my fitness coach for 3.5 years. But the greatest growth come from my long-term relationship, because think about your child or your kids or your grandkids. It's not like they do one season of football and then you're like, you're good. You're going to be play in the pro leagues for football now. No. What do? They go Division 1 football, Division 2 football. Then next year they go to next whatever senior level football. They're in a structured program all the time so they can keep growing. But for a lot of us, as we grow older, we forget this. And then we go, oh, well, I did 8 weeks, or I did like a 4-week challenge and I'm good. And then they disconnect the structure. This is very dangerous. Right. Joanne's been with me for 4 years. Joanne, can you imagine all the things you've gone through the past 4 years, with deaths in your family things, your own emotional roller coaster? Could you imagine if you had disconnected from the support, Joanne? Yeah, she's shaking her head like that. It'd be crazy. So she stayed connected with the system so she can continue to thrive, right? And so this is something I want you guys to think about is, I guess, where have you been consistent in your life? Like, name an area you remember being super consistent in your life. And then think about how can you use the same ideas and principles towards maybe this area of growth. So where have you been super consistent? Somebody might say, for example, I know Debbie will say dance. Debbie will say ballroom dancing because that's her passion. She was consistent. Now, Debbie might say, my fitness is a little bit not so consistent, but she has done consistent work, but in a different area of her life. So identify an area where you have been consistent in your life, because this will help you remember what it took. So if you were like, I pushed through 6 years to get my nursing degree, or I did you guys will all remember a time. So I want you to put it into the comment section. Now, there's another flip side to it. Okay. So I said, if you identify an area you're consistent in, you could potentially transfer some of the skills over to be more successful here. But there is another area where I've heard clients who are very highly successful, because I train doctors, I've trained lawyers, accountants, a lot of accountants. There's a lot of high achieving women that I coach. And another thing that I've heard a lot is, I'm successful at every other area of my life, but I just cannot figure this part out, like my health, my fitness, or my weight gain. And this is common because a lot of women are very high achieving. They've raised full families, like Joanne, 5 kids, homeschool all of them, and works, and like there's a lot of you who've done amazing things. But this is actually, a lot of times, it's not about discipline. So this is another mindset rewiring. A lot of women think, I'm disciplined, I think I can do it, but yet they get so confused why they cannot lose weight. And so it's not about discipline. It's about your identity and emotional wiring that you need to shift, which I'm going to describe to you. So it's not just about discipline, like I have to push through. But for many women who are very high achieving, success in other areas came through duty, deadlines, and doing things for other people. Duty, deadlines, and doing things for other people. I call it the 3 Ds: duty, deadlines, and doing for other people. A lot of highly successful women, they're really good at doing things for other people, but their health, on the other hand, is tied to self-worth, not external performance. So when it comes to your own health and it's not about external performance, they falter. A lot of women who are high achieving are looking for quick payoffs, quick things, things that they see right away. And unfortunately, your health requires a lot of patience and time. I have a couple clients with me that are newer, And in 2 or 3 weeks, sometimes they're like, I want to see more change. And I'm like, okay, just slow down. It's just been 2 or 3 weeks. You know this is going to take at least a few months, and of course even longer for continuous change, right? So the second thing is a lot of times they want more immediate payoff, like finishing a competition, or if they're accountants or doctors or whatever, like, finish the surgery for their client, for their patient, like we're very used to, like, especially for high achieving, you want to see results faster. And so this is a mindset, it messes with your mind. And the third thing is high achieving women often will put their health last because it isn't urgent, so it gets delayed. I see lots of nodding. I see nods. It gets put off because it isn't urgent, because everything else is more urgent, like finishing deadlines, like helping their family, like blah, 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 blah. Okay. So something that, like, I want you to think of is like, you've been consistent in showing up for others. You need to be consistent in showing up for yourself with the same excellence. Notice the phrase. You've been consistent showing up for everyone else. You need to be consistent in showing up for yourself with excellence. That's super important, because there are women who's like, I'm trying to show up for myself, but yet you still give yourself the last minute things. You're like, I can only do like 50-minute workout. It's like, okay, could you maybe set some boundaries? I know Joanne had this talk with me. I'm like, how about you set some boundaries with your family? How about you tell them, okay, this time to this time, no one call me, because she has 5 kids and a lot of grandkids. Nobody call me at this time because grandma needs to work out. And Joanne was like, yes. And she started implementing that. It was way better, right? So it's showing up for yourself consistently with excellence. Put that below, if you put it in the comments, if you agree with me. Show up for yourself with excellence. Okay. So when you want to reshift your mindset from like just motivation mindset to an actual mindset shift, there's 3 things you kind of need, 3 steps you need. The first is you need to identify and be honest with yourself. What story am I telling myself right now? This is something I loved about my mentor. If you don't know who she is, go to my 10 fun facts. Her picture is on there, my mentor in life. What story am I telling myself that is keeping me small? So step number 1 is you have to identify what that self-sabotaging thought is and be honest. What story am I telling myself that's keeping me small? Okay. Number 2, you have to identify what action am I doing like right now that is reinforcing an identity I don't want. Okay, so this is very crucial, because if you have a self-sabotaging thought pattern, you also have to identify the action. Okay, because they're not the same. Like a self-sabotaging thought mentality, for example, step 1, if you actually like identify, could be maybe low self-worth, like I always mess up. I never get it right. That's a self-sabotaging thought. But the second thing is identifying what action reinforces this false belief in yourself, is going like, well, every time I don't do something perfectly, I give up. That could be an action. Like, oh, I couldn't do it perfectly. I couldn't meal prep perfectly. I couldn't do it perfectly, so I give up. So that action is reinforcing the self-sabotaging thought. Okay, so step 1 is identifying what story am I telling myself that's keeping me small. Number 2 is what identity is this behavior reinforcing that I don't want. Put I don't want. What behavior is this reinforcing that I don't want? And number 3 is then the future you want. Like, what identity do I want? What identity do I want? So it's like, what belief do I need to practice to show up as the woman I want to be? So the third is identifying an action instead that you could do to become the woman you want. So let's use the like meal prep as an example. So Identifying the first sabotaging thoughts is I didn't even meal prep. I can't eat clean. Oh, forget it today. That's a self-sabotaging thought. The identity it's reinforcing is that you don't want is if I'm not perfect, I'm not going to do it. Number three, what identity do I want? Could be I want to be somebody who follows through, even if it's not perfect, because it's about progress, not perfection. So even if I didn't fully meal prep, I can't be 100% perfect. I'm still going to eat as clean as I can and try to get enough protein in or something like that, right? So there's three steps to rewiring your belief system, okay? And I'll just say too as well that mindset work is daily work, meaning mindset work doesn't just naturally grow, just like Marilyn said, it's not osmosis. You have to lift weights for your body to build muscle. You have to lift mindset weights. You have to work out your mind. And if you're not somebody who is very good with mindset work and you want more help with mindset, I want you to put mindset below because a lot of women, they want to learn macros and lifting weights and they always want all this stuff, but I always say your foundation is your mindset. If honestly, if you can figure this part out, you will change your life. So if you feel like you need more mindset work, put mindset below. Okay. All right. So that was a big section because this was a section I wanted to talk about. Motivation is not the same as mindset shift. Okay. Now we're going to go to this next point, which now I classify as the second point is your self-talk is your secret trainer. Okay, this is my second point. Your self-talk is your secret trainer. So how you talk to yourself literally will determine whether you have increased cortisol or not. And if you have like increased cortisol, you'll have decreased motivation, recovery, and hormonal balance. So if you don't know how to talk to yourself, it's going to really sabotage your progress not just because of mindset, but because it actually throws you hormonally off. Every thought pattern you have that's negative, I'm working with someone, she's really affected by people around her, and she has a bit of like outbursts often. The thing is, when she has those outbursts, she has to understand that the hormone shifts in her body really like spikes cortisol. It suppresses estrogen, testosterone, it suppresses your insulin uptake. Like all of this hormonal response just because of the way you think is crazy, right? So, like a lot of self-talk sabotage, I already mentioned it, but is something like when you mess up, you might say, like, I always self-sabotage. And when you said I didn't work out, then it turns into, oh, why even bother working out now? Or like one of the, clients I'm talking to is like, oh, why even continue the program? It's not working. Like it turns into these extremes when you self-sabotage. And what I want you guys to work on is reframing the self-talk into what I call grace with standards. Okay. So this means that when you're going through something, there is legitimately something happening, but you have to apply grace, which is kind of like love for yourself. Love for yourself is so important. It's to give yourself grace, but it's also not to let yourself off the hook. Okay. So, like, you still need to have standards. It's not like, oh, well, I guess I just didn't do it. Let it go. Right. That's not good either. The good middle ground is grace with standards. So, an example is if you messed up, like you missed your workout, it's instead of saying, oh, I messed up, I always miss my workouts, I'm just never going to get fit, like that's a self-sabotaging thought. Instead, you can say, yes, I messed up, I might have missed my workout, but tomorrow is a new day and I'm going to schedule my workout in instead of just flying by the seat of my pants so I can ensure to get my workout in, right? So this reframe is you give yourself grace, like, okay, I did miss it today and I didn't get it in. That's okay. You reframe it to I'm going to get it in tomorrow, and you apply a solution. You say I'm going to schedule it so I don't fly by the seat of my pants and I can make sure I have the workout in. Okay? So grace with standards is super important. Yes, and I'll talk about reframing later, but How many of you first time hearing grace with standards, or it's like you've heard of it before? Put grace with standards, it's like new for you. Put grace with standards. This is something that is kind of like self-love with standards. That's really kind of what it interprets to, self-love with standards. So put it below. Is it, so say grace with standards new or grace with standards not new? Put it below. Okay. Have you heard of this phrase before? And this is something I want you to remember, because as you transform as a woman, you become a greater mentor to other women one day. When you can overcome these things, like you don't have to be like, I have to get everything now. If I don't, I can't handle this. That kind of perfectionistic mindset or that kind of like frustration is not grace with standards. So put a big phrase for all of you women, busy women, high achieving women, grace with standards. Okay. So number three mindset shift, okay, is this one, because I see it a lot, is I call them the free challenge orbiters. Okay. So many women, they do challenge after challenge and they get PDFs after PDFs, but they still don't feel that much better in their body. And this is something like, again, I'm going to go back. If you see good results, keep going. All for it. Okay. But I'm saying like, I talked to women that had been in my group from 2022 or 2023, and it is 2025 now. And they still are struggling with their weight. They still are 25, 30 pounds overweight. They still said they have belly fat and hormonal imbalance. That's what I'm trying to say, is that if you're somebody who's like doing a challenge and free challenge after challenge and give me this free PDF and this free PDF and this next one, but you're not improving, I'll tell you why. Okay. So those things are really good for an initial like boost, but the free challenges and free resources do not give you a consistent plan. So no consistent plan. In fact, I'm going to write it below in the comments. No consistent plan. I just wrote it. A free challenge does not give you a consistent plan to follow. Secondly, a free challenge in PDF, it has no real-time feedback. Put it below there. There's no real-time feedback. Like for example, Ruby is in my program now, and with her macros, she had questions about peanut butter and about apples and about and she's like, I can't eat those. I was like, no, you misunderstood. Okay. But you need real-time feedback if you really want change, right? No real-time feedback. And third, for free challenges and resources, there's no accountability to follow through. This is really important. I want you guys to listen to this. No accountability to follow through when life gets hard. This is by far one of the most common, is when life gets hard, you need to be stabilized into a structure to keep yourself going. And a lot of people, they orbit around free challenges and free resources. And again, there's a place for it. I understand. And we want to help people see what's possible and give them ideas of like where your menopausal hormones are. But free tools only give you a spark. Okay. They only like spark it. But transformation lives in longer term structure, feedback, and support. Okay, I want you to really hear that. Free tools only gives you a spark, but transformation lives in longer term structure, feedback, and support. That's where real transformation occurs. And this is why the people who have gone through actual programs, or maybe you have maybe a coach in your own life, you find you actually transform. I competed 10 years in ballroom Latin dance, and now I'm training, competing in like, salsa and bachata. You have to know that all of that training came with a ton of structure and support and coaches and mentors that I hired to help me. People don't get to these levels of excellence by themselves. So try to not orbit around just free resources, free things all the time. A little bit's okay, get a taste of it, understand a little bit. But I see people in things like stuck for 3, 4 years because they're free challenge orbiters. I want to see better change in women than just settling for like, how it's like, I don't know, you know how they give you those little taster cups at the restaurants or when you're passing by some carnivals or something like that? There's little taster cups. It's nice to taste it, but it's not the same as actually eating a full meal, right? That's kind of what I'm trying to say. And something to, yes, welcome Rhonda. I know she popped in as well. And something I want to explain to all of you, my own clients know this, particularly the muscle accelerators, because they heard this when they were going into muscle accelerator. But it's the science behind change. And this was studied by sociologists. They followed groups of very high achieving people for years. And they came up with this theory around how long it takes for people to truly have sustainable change in their life. And they found that minimum for real habit change must go through about 8 to 12 weeks, usually 12 weeks. I mean, 8 you can too, but 12 weeks is better because to change a new habit, you need to be applying the new knowledge consistently, like learning how to kick a soccer ball or do backflips in gymnastics class. But then they followed these people longer. And they found the people who stopped doing things or kind of fell off the structure after 12 weeks, they were not so successful. So they were like, okay, but there's this other group or these other people we follow who were successful. What was the difference? They found that people who like not only had a habit development, but they went into what we call lifestyle development, where they took the habit that they just learned and they learned to apply it through the different seasons of life. Like they took the habit they learned and they were in some sort of program that allowed them to work through the 4 seasons, Christmas holiday, birthday parties, getting sick, having something happen in their family. They found people who actually took the habits they learned from the first phase and was willing to consistently apply that over, let's say, I guess past the 12 weeks, but usually just according to the study, it's more like a number of months. Like usually like 4, 5, 6 months to over a year. If they consistently apply it, then they would be classified in lifestyle development. And lifestyle development is like somebody now makes it their lifestyle. Is not just a new habit creation, but it is now a part of their lifestyle and they can sustain it. So make it part of a routine, make it into a lifestyle. And and then there's one more phase where they actually, of course, they follow these people for years, where they found there was one more phase that people could elevate to. Not everybody did. A lot of people either stayed in lifestyle development or they were habit development and they fell back, or they were yo-yoers, or they do a program, get to their ideal weight, then 3 months to 6 months later, they gain back the weight. This is very common. Most people stay in sort of habit development and then a little bit in lifestyle development. There's a small percentage that moves into the final phase, which is the identity development. This phase is that the person has gone through not only habit development, they've also gone through lifestyle development, and they kept going even after that, even after a year or two, and it became an identity development, meaning it's longer. They applied it through about usually 3 to 5 years. So if you can apply it something consistently 3 to 5 years, it will start to become a part of your identity. Why is this really important? Because you may not realize this, but you are always operating from your identity. People act not in accordance to their identity, but people act not in accordance to their habits all the time. How many times have I seen people fall off going to the gym? How many people have I seen fall off actually eating healthy? Lots of time. People will fall off habits all the time. But if it becomes your core value, for example, a very common one would be like harming an animal. If your core belief is like, well, no, you cannot harm animals, no matter how much money someone gives you, and like, I'm going to give you $1 million to go, I don't know, like torture an animal. You'd be like, I don't care about $1 million. Like, go away. Like, you're a horrible person, because why? It is not in accordance to your value. That is the highest elevation of development if you can get to identity development. This is where you're going to see people like myself or showing people become coaches who become mentors to others because we solidify such a solid base that no matter what happens, we keep going. The world falls apart during the pandemic, and I'm still buying water jugs and gallon jugs and lifting them in my homes. I don't care. I even had my friend like try to make something out of wood and like, come on, make me weights with wood, like because it is just part of me. I don't care if the world is going through a world pandemic. We need to stay fit. We need to stay fit through this. But I'm joking. Of course, it mattered during that time. But I'm just saying, like, identity development is the ultimate phase. And what I want you guys to understand is if it takes this much to build transformation in your life, those people who try to short circuit it, who try to be orbiters in free challenges, free resources, free this, free that, 6 weeks before another free challenge, you just have to ask yourself, are you doing yourself really a favor by doing that? Or are you disservicing yourself by jumping around in free challenges or free resources all the time, right? This is to make you reflect. I had one client a long time ago. She wrote notes on every single one of my lives for over 125 lives. And we had a consult, and yet she even admitted it. She's like, I have notes. She showed me her whole notebook. I was so impressed. But there was no change in her body. And she said, I mean, I get so motivated listening to you, but I haven't applied anything. So this is what I'm saying is let's switch the mindset. Information collection is okay, learning, but it must be paired with commitment to change, action. Okay. And if you are ready for like commitment to change, action, put action below. Like, I'm committed to change, put action below. A few members in the community where they told me that they were jumping around to YouTube to different videos all the time, but yet they never see any muscle change in their body because that was the problem. They were jumping all over the place with different muscle exercises, but there was no rhyme or reason for what they were really doing. Like from that chest press to that glute thing, like what is it targeting and what's the sequencing of it, right? I would encourage is good that we're starting to collect, but we also need to know structuring or at least discuss with someone who knows how something has to be structured. Usually when you want to do something really beautiful, there's a structure to it. You need to follow certain rules. Not always, of course, I understand there's beauty in chaos and there's beauty in like artistic expression, but I think you guys know what I mean by like if you just took a whole bunch of paint and just threw it against the wall, there's no rhyme or reason. You could end up hurting yourself more than better, whether it's nutrition knowledge or exercise knowledge or hormone knowledge. You hear one thing here. This is what I hear a lot is women tell me, but I heard this doctor said fasting is amazing, so I started fasting. And I'm like, oh, okay. Okay. And then I started keto is amazing, so I started doing keto. And I'm like, and then they're like, and I heard this new carnivore diet, so I'm just gonna eat all protein now too. I'm just my brain sirens are going off in my head, because it's like they're jumping around to everything and nothing is making sense because they all make sense. There's a reason why fasting exists. Keto was developed for people with seizures. There was a reason because of the mechanical, biological signals of people who go through seizures in their brain. And so it's like when we're not understanding these things, we harm ourselves. So just be careful about that. Okay. So the next mindset thing is owning versus avoiding obstacles. So this one, what I really want to talk about is like ownership mindset, really, against victim mindset. Okay. So ownership mindset versus victim mindset. I just spoke about this with my muscle accelerator clients. And the victim mindset usually says that there is something happening to them or blocking them. So they look at obstacles. So they'll say, I can't do this because I have an injury. I have my kids, I'm stressed. Or they might say, like, yeah, like they just have these reasons why they cannot do something, right? It's the I can't mindset. Like, I can't do this because of this. I can't do this because of this. Or life is happening to me. Like, oh my gosh, this person got sick in my family, and then this happened, and then this happened. I want someone to switch from like a victim mindset to an ownership mindset where you own the situation. And sometimes the situation, there's reality to it. Maybe there's been a car accident, maybe this is true. It's not to discount that, but you own what you can do from that. So, not the obstacle, but the solution. So I've always been told this phrase that winners don't see problems, winners see solutions. And that's something I always live by, even with this massive shift in our business and platforms. The moment we got locked, Debbie asked me, "Oh, what are we going to do?" I said, "Don't worry, we're going to look for solutions." The first thing I said, we are going to look for solutions. We're going to make this work, because in life, you always have two choices. You can either look at the same picture and say, I see problems here, I see problems here, or you look at exactly the same picture and you say, I see solutions here, I see a hole there, I see this pathway here. And suddenly your life brightens up because you realize everything is how you frame it. And so instead of avoiding obstacles, so for example, oh, this is difficult. I feel so busy right now. This is all obstacles. I want you to own the obstacle, but okay, so this is the situation. This is the actual situation. I have kids. I have to drive to whatever. I have a husband who's super busy. I have somebody that's sick in my family. Own it, and say, now what can I do in this circumstance? Or talk to your coach. Remember what I said once before? It's not about perfectionism. It's about progression. And if you say in this season, Cynthia is on here. Cynthia had a talk with me 2 weeks ago, and she's very busy right now. The moment she joined my program, her boss said, "You're working overtime." And she's like, "Oh, this just had to happen the moment I joined your program." Right. And I had a conversation with her about, okay, so this is the situation. Let's modify the plan. Let's modify it. Let's go a little bit slower. Let's modify it. Because there's no all or nothing mindset. It's not like, oh no, I have all this work now, so let's just quit the program, right? That's an all or nothing mindset. Instead, I wanted her to own the situation, and then I wanted her to seek for solution with me on what can we do now. Okay, so you guys could write down ownership mindset instead of victim mindset. And ownership mindset means that you look for solutions versus problems. And when you look for solutions instead of blockages, you stop being at war with your life and you start partnering with it. It's a beautiful change, meaning you stop fighting your life, fighting the circumstances, fighting traffic. You start partnering with it. You start going with the flow more. You start looking at solutions and ways around it, and life is a lot more peaceful. And like I said, I don't know about you, but I really like the phrase, the moment you stop having a victim mindset, you stop being at war with your life. And I'm like, that is a good phrase. A lot of people are at war with their life, with their emotions, with their relationships, because they don't take full ownership around what's actually happening. Let's jump to the fifth mindset, and then we have the sixth one, and then we'll wrap up. Okay. So let's talk about the truth about fear, anxiety, and frustration. Okay. So fear for older women, like all of you on here, that is 50, 60, 70, isn't always like panic or breakdown. In a lot of high functioning women, it often wears more socially acceptable in the following ways. And Debbie, you mentioned one of them. I'm going to go through all three. The three ways it shows up in like the fear kind of factor, but in the socially acceptable way, is perfectionism, comparison, and procrastination. Those are the three ways it shows up. So, oh, if I can't do it perfectly, I don't want to start yet. And I'm just not ready yet. Perfectionism. Secondly, comparison. Why is she seeing results and I'm not? I know that some of you have said that. Number three, procrastination. I'll start Monday, or I'll start after my trip. I have to go on that trip first. I'll start once work slows down. So perfectionism, comparison, and procrastination are very common mask for actually fear. It's a mask for fear in your life. And again, remember, like I said again, some of you may be new. Those of you who are my clients know me very well. And some of you who are new might be like, she's so strong. I want you to know I'm not talking at you. I'm just trying to be I'm passionate about helping you try to identify these things for yourself so you can change. And there's no shame in it. Like Clarice is a recovering perfectionist. I struggled with perfectionism for so many years. And I think even now, you just are on a degree. You learn in life, like, okay, I have to learn and adjust and things like that, right? And there's a really great book. I know, Joanne, you read it called Mindset, and it talked all about this whole perfectionistic mindset. And it's a journey of growth, right? Like it's not like anyone is better than the other. It's just we're all on different journeys of our growth. That's all. Some of us may have traveled a bit further because we had mentors or we took self-development with like some of the things in our past experience. Like I basically gone through like 12 years of personal development with my mentors and coaches. So it's just we're on a different spectrum. That's all. Everyone struggles with a bit of something like perfectionism, comparison, procrastination. It's okay. It's okay. It's not to, we're all human, but I'm just strong when I speak because I want you to be honest with yourself. Because I see so many women hide their heads underneath the pillow and they won't be honest with themselves, what's really bothering them, and they spin in circles around, the situation. And I know Debbie is my lovely angel, but we have a very strong relationship. We've known each other from the dance studio for many years, but also she became a client in the transformation program and now muscle accelerator for 4.5 years now. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Almost 5.
Yes. Almost. Yeah. Amazing. But if I had to be honest, Debbie and I had moments because when she was first new, where she was crying on the call and she was like, I don't love myself, I hate myself, and it was very emotionally charged calls. And I remember, wow, there's been a few times I messaged Debbie and she's like, I'm crying. Have always sent her messages and said, like, I believe in you. I know like you're going through this phase, but you can work through this. And I've always sown belief in her. And slowly she's worked through it. She's not perfect. No one's perfect, but she's worked. I'm saying you're here on the spectrum of life as being a human being. Where are you? Identify yourself on the spectrum, and then let's identify what you need to do to move forward in your life, right? So hopefully you guys understand my strength in speaking is not at you. It's my passion and wanting to help you. Because people say, you're so strong when you speak. I'm like, okay, I need to explain that it's coming from a place of love. Okay. So I said there's 3 areas: perfectionism, comparison, and procrastination is really masking fear. And a lot of the fear is, what if I can't do this? Or what if I fail? That's a very common masking protocol. Comparison is, procrastination is, and so is perfectionism. Okay. And like I said, if you the other way, where if I finally do change and make all these changes, what if I don't succeed? Right? I already spoke about this. Now let's talk about, so that was fear and then frustration. So frustration is more than just physical for menopausal women. I'm currently dealing with a couple newer clients that are kind of expressing some of this to me. It's very emotional for ladies your age because your body is not working for you. Your body is inflamed, it's heavy, it's unfamiliar. You used to be so fit and lean, and now you look in the mirror and you're like, I don't recognize this person. Am I correct? I see nodding heads. People are like, yeah, I feel this way. And so I want to help you understand your frustration actually comes from grief. So what do I mean by that? Is a lot of women's feelings is grief for their older self. Like, "Oh, I wish I was back there. Wish I was like what I was before. I remember I was energetic, I was vibrant, I was leaner, I could wear whatever I want." It's grief, right? This, I want to normalize this for you because it's very common. And even Oshone, who's coaching a couple of individuals, we've had conversations about this because I know Oshone is working on that coaching ability of working with a lot of emotionally charged women. This is a part of the coaching process, that they're not mad at you. They're just really frustrated with their situation. And this is what I want you guys to understand is, like, if you're frustrated, it's okay, but it's to understand why. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm just like feeling like I can't get back to where I was. It's a grief process. But it's to understand, okay, it's just showing you how much you care and how much you want it. So it's to channel that energy Everything is about channeling energy, right? A situation happens, either you channel it negatively or you channel it positively. And in my thought process is that when you have this type of frustration, you can channel it positively. You're like, okay, I'm frustrated with this. Like, I can't, like, I feel like my body's giving up on me, and channel it towards, like I said, solutions. Channel it towards, I'm going to do a coaching program. I'm going to channel it towards, I'm going to get some help. Channel it towards, I'm going to learn and grow more in menopausal health, like Phyllis at 75. Like, it's just, it's amazing because Phyllis doesn't stop learning, right? And I want you to identify there's two types of fear, okay? Two types of fear that you need to be aware of. One is good for you, the other is not good for you. There's the protective kind of fear, which keeps you safe. Okay, like if there was real danger, your intuition tells you you need to trust that because, yes, that's real danger. Protective fear can help you avoid burnout, misalignment, maybe emotional harm. It's often quiet and rooted in intuition. Like I said, women are so good at intuition. We know that we can feel things, right? So you need to listen to that kind of fear. True. Okay. But there's a second kind of fear you need to watch out for, which is paralyzing fear. Paralyzing fear keeps you stuck in your old version of yourself. Okay, paralyzing fear reinforces that you need to stay the same. You don't want to change, you just stay the same. This is not good. Paralyzing fear keeps you stuck. Okay? And paralyzing fear also says don't try too hard, stay safe, don't risk the change. Okay. So that's something I want you to be careful, because when you are feeling something like an uncomfortable feeling, when you might be like, am I feeling fear? What am I feeling? You can analyze that, but you need to know where that comes from. One is this an actual rooted fear in like protecting myself truly, or is this a paralyzing fear that's keeping me stuck? Okay, so we need to move out of the paralyzed fear. Protective fear is good. I mean, we want to protect you. You want to be safe. You don't want some strangers, hurting you or something. Protective fear is necessary, but paralyzing fear, no. Okay, so that's what I want you to understand is like be more aware of what kind of fear. How many of you put below believe that you have paralyzing fear? Put it below. Identify for yourself. Do you sometimes have paralyzing fear? It's just to be honest with yourself. Do you sometimes get stuck because you're like, I don't want to change. No, I don't want to change, Identify for yourself. Put it in the comments below. Is it paralyzing fear? I'm going to ask you a few questions, and this is more for you to journal a little bit about this. This is more for yourself. So I want you to answer this for yourself in your notebook. What fear is still speaking louder than my desire to change? So, what fear is still speaking louder than my desire to change? That's one. Number two, where am I still trying to earn rest, worthiness, or joy? So a lot of people are trying to earn rest, worthiness, or joy when it's like you don't have to earn it. Like you should have rest, you should have worthiness, you should have joy. So it's an overfunctioning symptom of women that are overfunctioning. Okay. And then the third question is, what would it look like to move with fear and not wait for it to disappear? So this is really crucial. I'm going to say this question again. What would it look like to move with fear, not wait for it to disappear? And you might be like, what? What do you mean? A mentor in the personal development world always said butterflies means go. He was talking about entrepreneurship. When you take action, build your businesses, build your empires, butterflies means go. Because a lot of people have butterflies and they stop. But the greatest things come because you're willing to move forward. So what is the saying is like, you might have fear, but you're still willing to move forward with, obviously like things evaluated, but you're willing to work through the fear. Remember, I spoke about it earlier. In spite of fear, you're still willing to move forward. That's what I mean. The very last thing we're going to talk about, and we're wrapping up, or really, this is a long one, is having a solution seeking versus scarcity loop. Okay. It's similar to something I said in number 3, but I want to give this more time here. So when people, again, they have this whole like, try the free challenge, download the free guide, start and stop, that kind of mindset, they have this like scarcity mindset. I guess I'm trying to come from that point of view. Like there's not enough. I need to get more free stuff. Like there's just not enough things, you know? Like there's not enough information. I need more, or also scarcity mindset, like, oh, like I don't have enough, so I can't really invest in something, right? It's like this scarcity mindset. And what this really reinforces, like, your needs come last. And I spoke about this, is your needs come last, that you feel like you're not really worth really the real support, you know? And sometimes that thought process unconsciously is underneath a lot of this, is like, I'm not worth really a lot of the real support. So I'm going to stick around the outside, right? And one thing you have to know is that you don't have to be, you don't have to have it all figured out in order to deserve more help or more solutions. And this is something I want to encourage a lot of you, is like, look at self-investment. Okay. Write self-investment down on your sheet. And I want you to put it in the comments if you believe in this. Okay. Self-investment means saying yes to deeper support when what you're doing isn't working. I'm going to say it again. Self-investment means saying yes to deeper support when what you're doing isn't working. Number two, making room for growth even when things feel tight. Things or time feels tight. Making room for growth even when time or finances feels tight. Making room for that growth, okay? Number three, being willing to look at solutions, not just the reasons it's hard. Being willing to look at solutions, not just the reasons it's hard. Okay, so self-investment means those three things. Say yes to deeper support when things are not working, making room for growth even if things are tighter, being willing to look at solutions, not just reasons that it's hard. That's what self-investment means. So, how many of you feel like on this live and everybody watching the replay is like, do you really have a self-investment mindset? Like that you're willing to invest in yourself? Put it below if you believe you are worth investing in. Put it below if you feel like you are worth investing in. Okay. This is something I want you to put it below, because one thing I said a long time ago in my life is that a lot of women underneath don't truly love themselves. If I was to ask you how many of you actually look at yourself in the mirror or say to yourself, I love you, to yourself. Because most women tell me, oh, well, I never say that to myself. Like, what? As if it's the weirdest thing in the world. And actually, it's not weird. You should be the person that loves yourself the most, because nobody can do the work for you. You are the one that's going to advocate and create the life you want. You must love yourself the most. So this is something I know it's maybe deep, and sometimes maybe people even feel weird. Like, that's weird. You want me to stand in front of the mirror and tell myself I love myself? That is just weird, Clarice. But I'll tell you that the most successful people talk to themselves in the mirror. You go study the highest level achievers, high level football players, high level, like, well, I don't know if we should talk politicians right now, but like high level, like achievers. They speak to themselves in the mirror. They talk to themselves. They encourage themselves. They fall in love with themselves first, because they know that you must lead yourself before you could ever lead anybody else. And this is a truth I want you to remember. And if you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not there yet, that's okay. Remember, this is, I speak strongly. I'm not speaking against you or to you. It just means it's a journey and you need to work on it. And you may need help. You may need a coach. Maybe you need to be in programs that work with mindset. Like I said, I didn't naturally develop this. Neither did Oshone. I knew Oshone at 18 years old. And 4 years into coaching her, I introduced her to my life mentor, who now coaches her as well. She built her mindset, and I built my mindset because of other people who came into our life, who helped us grow. And so just remember, like, if you're like, I need more help with mindset, like I need it be something that like allows me to have a space to grow. Because if you struggle with self-sabotage, mindset things, belief in yourself, all those type of things, you cannot solve it yourself. Again, remember the first thing, that I want to do it myself mindset is false. Because my mentor said this: you cannot solve a problem with the same brain that created the problem. You cannot solve a problem with the same brain that created the problem. And that's why outside perspective, outside books, mentors, coaches, support groups are so needed in people's lives. And this is what I want for all of you, for all the ladies that you're listening, my replays, all the 19,000 people who follow me, is I want you guys to be okay with allowing help, being in a community, having coaching, having Joanne or Debbie or other people in a group to support you. Like, it means a lot. It will change your life, and you will stay more consistent in your journey of your life and in your health, right? One thing I want all of you to, I'll close with this, is that's why I'm a holistic trainer. I don't believe just in macros. I don't believe in just workouts. I believe it starts in your mind and in your heart. And there's a difference, but we're not going to get into it today. There's your mind, your heart, your body, your nutrition, your weight training, your hormones. You have to have a very holistic spectrum and look at your body if you want true health and wealth, right? So hopefully you guys remember that. If you listen to all this and you're just like, oh, there's so much to write down, I need the replay of this, you can put replay. If you really want help, if you're like, time for some reset, put reset below. And also, if you haven't heard about our hormone metabolism audit form that we released to the public on Monday, and you want to have an audit on your hormone and metabolism, put hormone and metabolism audit, and we can give you some individual feedback on that. Okay, that was our hormone metabolism audit. You can just put audit form, and we will give you some feedback on that. Okay, awesome. I hope you enjoyed it. This was really long. I'm sorry. I love mindset, and I'm very passionate and want to help all of you grow.
Thanks for tuning in to the Fierce and Fit Mentor podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit the follow button on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, or wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. If something in this episode resonated with you, please leave a review or share it with a friend who'd love it too. Your support means the world and helps us reach more amazing women like you. Until next time, stay fierce, stay fit, and let's keep building your most powerful self.